Good morning. Pastor Mike has asked me to provide an overview of the structure of the United States government as we reflect on our focus this week, which is our dual citizenship as believers and as those who live in the United States of America. So to begin with, I believe that a fair amount of the confusion that exists is because we use the term government or governing authority. In the period when the New Testament apostles were writing to their fellow believers, the Roman Emperor Caesar was considered divine. He was more than a ruler, he was a god. He was the government. In our day, the United States structure is quite different. So first, if we take away anything at all from today's discussion, it's this. The supreme authority in the U.S. is the Constitution, not a person. Therefore, when we refer to submitting to the government, we need to be mindful that an accurate understanding of this would mean we're talking about submitting to the Constitution, not a person. The U.S. Constitution, including the Bill of Rights, serves as the foundation and the ultimate authority of our U.S. government. And then built on this constitutional foundation, is the form of government structure called a republic, where individuals are elected by we the people to represent we the people, and where the elected officials are held accountable by we the people. The premise is that those who we elect are to represent us. All actions taken by our representatives are to be implemented on behalf of we the people and in total alignment with the Constitution. Now, this includes members of Congress, the President, and the appointed members of the United States Supreme Court. Accordingly, when our elected representatives assume office, they take an oath. The oath says, "I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, and will bear true faith and allegiance to the same." So resting on these underlying structures is the executive branch, the President, which includes the various cabinet positions and supporting departments. All of these positions and legislation passed by Congress and signed into law by the President are to be held in check by the U.S. Supreme Court, which is chartered to make certain that everything enacted remains consistent with the literal and intended meaning of the U.S. Constitution. So at the state level, as a requirement of being approved for admittance into the U.S. as a state, each state was required to first comply with the foundation of law established by the U.S. Constitution. In short, the term government could refer to the Constitution itself. At the core level, it technically does not refer to any one person who's been elected or appointed as a representative of we the people. The government is the Constitution, not a person. So how does this system actually work? Well, and this is what I was asked to do. Let's look at the original design. Because our nation was a confederation of states, with each state having different populations, the concept of equal representation for each state posed a bit of a problem. The solution our founders crafted and wrote into the Constitution was to organize the legislature into a Congress made up of two distinct bodies, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives consists of elected representatives from districts within each state that have an equal number of people represented. The districts are the same size. The Senate is made up of two members from each state so that no state or group of states with a large population can control the lawmaking process. While the Senate was designed to protect interests of the states, the House was meant to be the decision-making body of the people. While the Senate would always remain at two members for each state, the House was meant to grow as the population grew, so that people would be represented well. Originally, therefore, the House of Representatives, representing districts, would have one representative for every 40,000 inhabitants. Now, if this was followed today, there would be approximately 8,200 elected members of the House of Representatives. That would create an unworkable decision-making body. Well, to prevent this and seeing ahead, in 1911, a law was adopted that permanently set the House to its present number of 435 representatives. Accordingly, each House member now represents approximately 750,000 people, which is a far cry from the original number of 40,000. So the way this system was originally designed to work was this. While remaining faithful to stay within the bounds of the Constitution, on behalf of their districts, House members would propose legislation and funding. The Senate would then review the proposals and make certain the interests of the small states were not corrupted, that they were protected. The two houses would exchange proposals back and forth until a compromise was reached, and once approved by both houses, the president would either sign it into law or veto it. And if approved, the Supreme Court would review the law to make certain it was consistent with the Constitution. 3 check and balance equal branches of government. So why is this important for us as believers? Simply this: we must understand the ultimate law of the United States is not a person. It's not a group of people. Rather, the government of the United States is staked within a written document that does not change with the political or moral whims of any one person. Rather, the Constitution places responsibilities and limits on those who govern to both uphold and defend the Constitution. So here's a practical example for our consideration in this time we're living. The First Amendment states the following: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. As a result, several important questions emerge. If all citizens, including every elected official, are bound to uphold the Constitution, can any single elected official establish an order that does not respect the establishment of religion? Can any elected official establish an order prohibiting the free exercise of religion thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech? Can any elected official restrict the right of people to peaceably assemble? To be even more specific, if we understand that the government is the Constitution, not any singular elected or appointed person, we could ask ourselves this: do any of the current COVID-19 orders potentially violate the government, which is the Constitution of the United States? These are some of the questions we must answer as citizens and as believers if the rights we enjoy are to endure. So tomorrow we'll look at a concept of government from the 1600s, which is at the heart of these matters. We'll also briefly look at several tenets of the state constitution that governs those of us who live here in Washington State. Dear friends, I do think it's time to pray, to really pray. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and heal their land." May it be so. May it be so.